Sudan? Is there no one out there? I see blood in the sands of despair in Africa. Listen to the sound of applause in a chamber full of men selling out their people as they plan their assault on the heart of America. No, it couldn't happen here. I know it wouldn't happen here. I will not submit to authority of man. I'm alive, I'm awake. This is more than I can take. If you had an open door, would you kill a little more?
In the councils of government, we must guard against acquisition of unwarranted influence by the military and industrial complex.
Machine in motion and the bullets fall as rain, and the light in the eyes of the innocent has faded into pain. Yesterday I knew the world was spinning toward the end, but today I see the wasteland, and it's too late to pretend. Listen to the words that you hear, said the ghost of Vietnam through a veil of napalm. Don't forget your mistakes and where you came from. I will not submit to authority of man. I'm ready to die, but not for a lie. See the signs up here, you know it's gonna happen Listen to the sound that you hear, like it echo in your head. There's a strange vibration rising now from the heart.
What was that? You ready?
Yeah. And we are live. This is Silences Compliance Live Wednesday edition. I am your host, Anthony Antonello, here with Jeff Anizio as usual, and we have a lot to talk about. And as I was trying to do some show prep and get some stories ready, what's that? Alright, I'll take care of that. As I'm trying to get these stories out and talk about, what's going on in the world, I mean, you almost can't help but to laugh because things have gotten so ridiculous. I mean, it's like it's beyond biblical at this point. It really is. And I was telling Jeff, enemy of that scene in at the end of the first Ghostbusters with Bill Murray, talking about, oh, it's going to be the end of days, and, dogs and cats will be living together, and I'm like, that, it seems like we're beyond that point. I mean, they were talking as far as like apocalyptic. You look at the news today, and news, and I know that's a loaded term, just the news itself, but I tried to see what was going on in the mainstream, like I always do, and what the way we do is we the mainstream, we try to be reality, real, we use common sense, and we try to work our way through this. We try to figure it out and break down propaganda and go from there. So I'm watching, one of the major networks, and I'm like, oh my God. And I was waiting for Jeff to get here, and I'm like, I'm watching this, and it was just incredible to me. And I don't get to watch a lot of mainstream stuff. I get a lot of stories online. I do a lot of reading. But as far as like just sitting there watching, I normally have multiple outlets on. I mean, I have multiple things in this house that I could get stations from other countries, and there's always a TV on somewhere, and I'll try get bits and pieces. So especially if there's like a police state story or something that really interests me in the narrative of us moving into this quote-unquote new world order, and I know, conspiracy theorist, even though George Sr. came out with it, and Jason Burmis started his film Invisible Empire with like, I think 30 minutes, maybe more, of every soundbite ever of official, and this was a couple years ago, of mainstream people, from presidents to media moguls, that use this term New World Order, but yet we're the conspiracy theorists for talking about it and trying to figure it out. So what I'm saying is I'll have TVs on and I'll hear certain things, and if it catches my ear, oh, cops killed kid, all right, obviously I'm gonna go find out what that story is. But I actually something caught my attention. I stopped and I'm looking at the television, and the guy's reading the news, and I was almost speechless, and I had to start laughing. And I know it's it's not a good thing, and I guess at the same time, I don't know exactly what is real and what's really going on. But I mean, the stories, okay, were just incredible. Okay, you have this guy. He comes out and he's like, okay, today. Another 5 scientists, or the 5th scientist has died from Ebola, and Ebola just seems to be completely out of control. And what was it? Just yesterday, I think it was yesterday or the day before, Jeff, you were talking about the plantibodies and how a scientist injected himself to try something out, and it didn't go his way, and he died. So he's like, Ebola breakout, out of control. In other news, and it's like,
Fire and Brown are. The moon is as red as sackcloth, and the 4 horsemen of the
right.
have been spotted moving from the northeast. And in other news,
yes.
Lake Erie, the water is undrinkable and filled with poison, so don't even smell it.
Right. So, and we have mermaids being spotted. It's absolutely apocalyptic. It really is. And then they throw the story is, and then at your local burgers and bullets, right? I'm thinking, what the hell's a burgers and bullets, you know? And I think that's the name of it. And I'll double check. But at your local Burgers and Bullets, a terrible tragedy happened. A 9-year-old with an Uzi shot and killed the instructor. I'm like, what is going? I mean, I'm getting all this, right? And then I think what put me over the edge was when I heard the story of Douglas MacArthur McCain. Okay, now I have been saying for years, this is pretty much my specialty when I talk about the war on terror and how it is meant for the American people, and how eventually it is to lock down America. And once they're able to close down America, then they'll have no problem with the rest of the world and depopulation and whatever else they have on their minds. But America is a big hurdle in their way, but that hurdle seems to be getting lower and lower each day as the decline of America seems imminent. So I do talk about the war on terror being for the American people. It's pretty obvious. You cannot have an open society and a war against ideology. It does not work. So we have this story, okay, and it's when I watch the news, I swear, and once again the news, it's like the Matrix, like I see this stuff for what it is. I just don't buy it. And to anybody who does, I don't want to really bash you, but you really have to look at it from a perspective of, these are pathological, chronological liars that have been proven time and time to have an agenda, to admit it. They admit they have an agenda. They've been cutting more lies than, we know what to do with. It's like if somebody shows up at your house every single day, borrowing money, saying I'll pay you back tomorrow, but never ever pays you back, and next thing you know, you're $100,000 in debt. You're or out $100,000. Like, it's that ridiculous. Like, yeah, I'll pay you back. Yeah, sure. But the American people seem to, yeah, well, if the TV says it, it must be true. Well, as far as the war on terror, I said eventually it's going to be used on the American people. That's why the NDAA put in sections 1021 and 1022 where they can indefinitely detain and assassinate American citizens without trial, no habeas corpus, posse comitatus. I mean, whether it's gone or not, at this point it really doesn't matter when you have the militarization of the police. And so the narrative has to keep moving towards domestic terror. That's the whole point. That's what they have to do. And what we see now is every time a story comes out, it's more, how can I put it? I guess more the people who are the perpetrators are more American, I guess, so to speak. And let me try to explain that. When you have a foreign enemy, okay, and this is when you understand propaganda and you understand what these people, how they do what they do, it's a lot easier to talk somebody into atrocities when they don't really understand the people that it's being done to. So that's why you see racism, bigotry, and all kinds of things that have been used all through history in order to commit all kinds of genocide and democide, okay? That's the way it works. So with the war on terror, it started with a foreign enemy. It always starts with a foreign enemy. Somebody you don't relate with. Usually you don't speak their language. They look nothing like you. They have a different culture, okay? So you start there, and you get the people to that point, okay? And even getting them to that point isn't easy. But when something like 9/11 happens, and somebody pulls out a flag and everybody starts dancing around the flag, let's go to war, it's a lot easier to get them into that mode, at least. Okay, so once you get there, then it's an incrementalization moving you forward down this war on terror. And that's why I've been saying for years now, I'm saying you're going to see more and more people that you're going to be able to relate to. They're going to start looking more like you, or that was a very vague statement, but they're going to start looking more westernized, okay? And you've seen that, let me think, after the underwear bomber, and I don't want to go too far off in the weeds here, because that was a huge tipping point. And we were just talking about this last night. Naomi Wolf, who's the author of The End of America, breaks this down really well as far as talking about how the way you close down an open society is through a series of tipping points. And, like she said, when that boy was tasered down in Florida for asking a question to John Kerry, right? Don't tase me, bro?
Yeah, don't tase me, bro.
Right, don't tase me, bro. I mean, at that time, that story was huge, Now, like, people get shot every single day, and it's not news. This guy was just tasered for asking a question. Now you get shot in the face and for nothing. And America, that's it. You lose. So it's a series of tipping points. So when I seen this story here, right, and I swear the people who write this stuff up, the ones who create this narrative, and I know they have script writers, they have to, all right, that are just constantly right. Actually, Brad Meltzer, okay, the guy who did Decoded, and he basically debunked quote unquote conspiracy theories. He admitted one time, not realizing that people like me would cling to what he said forever and make sure people know about it, that he admitted that he worked for the Department of Homeland Security, that they hired him to come up with all kinds of crazy ideas on to use his imagination on what people can do to attack America. And so he admitted that he worked for the Department of Homeland Security. Now, is this the guy that you want that's out talking about some of the most important subjects ever, saying he's debunking the Bilderberg Group or the Bohemian Grove? Really? Brad Meltzer, a guy who admittedly writes for the Department of Homeland Security to help them come up with more ideas. And when you see a story like this, all right, I can't help but to laugh, because they, up to this point, I haven't heard anybody make the case that this was a fake name, that I know Muslims they'll change their name, and I mentioned on the other show that Muhammad Ali said that he talked about how he felt that Cassius Clay was his slave name, and he went into the whole history of that, and that's why he changed his name. But they didn't talk about this at all, okay? They said this guy here, Douglas MacArthur McCain. I'm not joking. I'm absolutely serious, okay? Douglas MacArthur McCain was an American fighting with ISIS, okay? And this is what it says right here. NBC, all right? Washington, D.C., NBC News. We've got an update Wednesday morning on the hunt for terrorists who killed an American journalist in Iraq, and an American believed to be with the group has been killed. New overnight, we heard from a relative of the American who says he was not a terrorist. Douglas MacArthur McCain is the first American killed fighting with the jihadist group ISIS. His cousin insists McCain was not a terrorist. Oh my God. Well, assuming she's not talking about John McCain. And then, if that was the case, I believe we'd have an actual argument. But my cousin wouldn't support a terrorist group like that or any other group like that, said Kenyatta McCain.
But it's like it's like you can't ask a family member.
No, I'm with
Do you think Axe Murderer Jones was a bad
okay,
guy? And they're gonna be like, no, Axe Murderer Jones was my brother, and he would never hurt a fly, even though his name's Axe Murderer Jones. And he chops people up. Like the video report could be, and now we go live to the scene where there's live video of Axe Murderer Jones cutting up a body and eating it. Back to the interview. But Axe Murderer Jones would never hurt a fly.
And granted, and you're right. Okay. Hang on. I got some here. All right. Syrian rebels, backed by, and I'm gonna add to what you just said there, but I just seen a name. All right. Syrian rebels, and nobody on the local news. Nope. Still, nobody on the local news that I've heard so far has mentioned this yet, okay? And I would think that this brings us a lot closer to home now. You ready for this?
Yep.
Syrian rebels, backed by U.S., killed him last weekend. Now military surveillance planes are flying over Iraq, trying to identify which ISIS member beheaded American journalist James Foley. Now here we go. In quotes, I'm afraid it's just a preview of what they would do to other Americans, said Senator Bob Casey. How? Where does Bob Casey? That's, and for anybody paying attention, I don't claim him, but he's, this geographic location, he's one of the senator, the sitting senators that has been a sitting senator for about 100 years. Well, no, he's been around for a while. His father with the same name has been around, and I mean, you might as well talk to I've confronted him on that NDA, and did you ever like hear him talk or see him talk? Like, you might as well literally take a cardboard figure and put it at a podium. Like, yeah. He is the most monotone.
I have a 20-minute speech from when Biden was down in Scranton there, where I stood.
He'll put you to sleep.
And it was like you could see the video, like my hands are up, like, so you can't really see me, but you can see from the camera that like I was having a tough time staying awake.
Dude, if you need like sleep medication or something like that, I would suggest pulling up some Bob Casey speeches, and I don't know how many of them there are, but this guy, when he speaks, I mean, just his voice and the way he has one gear. That's it. I mean, I would not be surprised if like in the Total Recall movie, like just the face start pulled apart.
How long are you staying? How long are you staying? 2 weeks. Blah, blah, blah. 2 weeks. 2 weeks. And look at them. As they're sliding, Arnold steps out.
Yeah.
2 weeks.
Yeah.
This is Moz.
Like, I would not be surprised if he was an actual robot. Okay. So let's see what else. Bobby has to say here. There was a vigil Tuesday night at Marquette University. Foley was an alumni. Okay, please, Jimmy, just promise me you'll wait for us in heaven, said Tom Durkin, Foley's friend. I'm not sure what the hell is going on here with this story, but Democrats and Republicans say the president may need to get permission from Congress first.
Well,
you hear the way that...
Hang on.
You hear the way that...
Hang on, wait a minute. Let's back this train up. They say the president may need to get permission from Congress.
Now,
Mike,
you see how far down... You see how far down the rabbit hole we are. You see the way they worded that. This is NBC. Do you see the way they worded that?
Yeah, he
like
might.
already just
And like-
assuming
and like the average
like you
person-
have a dictator. You like
Yeah.
the people have no say whatsoever. So when I make this case, you know, people conspiracy theory. Listen to the way they word it. They word it like he may actually think about making a statement out that says he was thinking about talking to Congress and then changed his mind. So be happy, at least.
Yeah. At least he considered it for a moment.
Right,
You know?
right, even though he didn't really consider it. He
Yeah.
was just kind of, scraping some crumbs off the table for you. Like,
Oh,
dude,
man.
we are so down. We are so late in the game here, man. It is ridiculous. So, Douglas MacArthur McCain, it's, I don't know if you're able to pull up a picture not of actually Douglas MacArthur, okay, of this guy. If you're able to pull up a picture for the audience, pull up a picture. It's just the dude. But for those of you who don't know, okay, Douglas MacArthur is like a famous general of World War II. Let's see here. What is it? Okay. So
Wait, you gotta go ahead. I'll put this stuff up on the screen. You're
All
gonna
right,
die.
all right.
You're gonna die.
Was an American 5-star general and field marshal of the Philippine Army. He was chief of staff of the United States. Totally famous general. Okay, and then you have Jihad John McCain, and I guess the mother, the parents. You're taking Jihad John McCain, you're taking his name, you're adding it to Douglas MacArthur, literally his whole name, okay? It's like, to me, and this is, I know how like trying to put subliminals out there to people, like back when America, was a little bit better than it is right now. So what do you have? What do you have for me?
I'm gonna put it on the screen right now.
All right.
Wait, I'm hoping this is when you say the terrorist Douglas MacArthur McCain. I'm hoping that this is who you're talking about. I'm hoping.
Hey, are we on the right?
Yeah, we're still on. I don't know what.
No, I know that, but are we on the right?
Yeah.
I don't
It's
think so.
still going.
No, I think we're on the wrong page actually.
Oh yeah, we're on the Silences Compliance Live page. I noticed that before. I guess this computer must have been signed into that automatically. I didn't catch it before.
All right, no big deal.
But I'm hoping that this is who you're talking about.
All right. How come how much of a delay do we have?
It's not that much.
I should
It's
say
like a couple seconds.
Okay, here we go. Oh my God.
Is that the MacArthur
Yeah, that's
McCain terrorist that
no.
you were referring
Yeah,
to?
dude, what?
that him?
John McCain.
Is that him?
Oh man, that looks about right. Yeah, that's Jihad John McCain.
Well, no, here's
do
the
you have the actual
there-
picture?
There's the actual.
All right,
guy.
go ahead. Put the actual
Yeah.
picture up.
No, there's the actual.
Douglas. What? Okay.
There's the actual guy.
All right, let's see here.
So
I'm waiting for it to pop up. I mean, if anybody here thinks this is not just off the meters ridiculous, okay?
well, yeah, look at him right there on the screen there, John McCain. As a terrorist. 8 months ago, he wanted to arm, ISIS and the Syrian.
Oh, we're
right.
gonna get into them. Yeah, that looks like him. Okay, that's Douglas MacArthur McCain. Dude, I'm sorry, I can't even.
You have that image of John McCain now stuck in your head.
Well, this is just so unbelievable to me. Like, do you want to know what's more believable in my mind, honestly? That that this guy was kidnapped. They flew over Syria and dropped him out of a plane. I swear that to me that is more believable than
it's
the
same-
story they're selling.
Yeah, it's probably they probably pushed him on the same plane that they
Like
pushed that aid drop to the Azadis. You know, the one that fell from like 30,000 feet with no parachute.
like, listen, he's. Oh my God! All right, he's not. I'm sure he's not gonna get an autopsy, obviously. Be surprised at all
They gave him, listen,
if he
like,
for trauma.
they gave her like in accordance to
Yeah.
the beliefs, you know. And there's no photos
But
allowed. of him at all, so.
I'm totally serious. Like I think that is so much more believable that this guy was either kidnapped or maybe he might have been in the military for all we know, and he could have been a soldier. I mean okay, we can't. And the lady, as far as what she said, there, you know, the sister, at this point with the crisis actors and all the false flags that happen, who how are we supposed to know anything at this point? Anything? What? Okay,
Pretty
what
much the
do
only
we
thing
know?
that you can be
What do we
guaranteed
know?
Is that no one is telling the truth.
Right.
That's pretty
So
much the
at
only
that
thing you can be certain.
At that point, what do we know? What I mean, once you realize that we're being lied to, okay, which I'm gonna move away from just constantly bashing the mainstream, which, you know, of course they deserve to be bashed, but we're replacing. So we're gonna be spending a lot more time talking about real stories. But I mean, at this point, how do we know what is real? Because I don't have the money. I wish I did. I don't have the money to go travel to all these places. And when you know you're being lied to on a regular basis by so many people, and you see stories, reporters getting beheaded, well, that's kind of gonna keep a lot of people away from that area, don't you think? And all these people are getting kidnapped. Well, what's the best way of keeping people from going somewhere? Is, you know, scare the hell out of them. Make sure that they don't go there and cover it. And I brought this up the other day as far as weapons of mass deception, when there actually were good journalists that were asking real questions during the first Gulf War, and they had friggin' tanks fire on them, you know? So believe me, it wasn't long after that before they started rolling out and saying, all right, you know, I don't want to get killed. And, you know, there are a lot of hardcore journalists that want it. That's one of the toughest things, but it's also one of the, like, if you're a hardcore journalist, that is... Some people really want to be war correspondents, and once you're a war correspondent, your career is almost made too. Like if you're a real like, you know, if you're really trying to do something.
Yeah, if you're the one that put the studio in front of the green screen with fake bombs going off and a helmet, you know, you got it.
Yeah, right. So, okay, and we all know the story of Charles Jaco. But you know, before the media completely taken over, you know, that's what people wanted to be. Well, for a bunch of decades, but they wanted to be. Yeah, real journalist work is literally illegal. Yeah, it really is. I have been to so many places and tried to ask so many questions to so many different people, congressmen, senators, I mean, from the POTUS all the way down. And you cannot even, like, I've gotten to these people. I've you know, any means necessary, I'll get to them. And once you ask a certain question, that's it, you're gone. Their handlers will physically, you know, and I have so many videos. Go watch my confrontation videos. I think I have a whole playlist just of like confrontations, and you'll see that there are times where they'll just completely ignore me. There are times, and, you know, walk away. There are times where they'll be talking to another journalist, and so you know that they're taking questions, but then you ask a question, or, you know, I'll ask a question about the NDAA, something serious, and they'll ignore me. Okay, so there's more proof. If you you could be I could and I've been doing this for years, so I've tried to perfect this craft the best I can. I've tried to learn from all my mistakes, or I do the best I can. But here's what I found: no matter what I do, so even coming at them nice, hey, thanks for being here, lower their guard a little bit, ask them some softball questions, and then once you ask them real questions, their handlers step like right in, and they have no problem right in the middle of an interview. He's got to go, and it's incredible to see. And after the last couple of years of so many We Are Change type style citizen journalists and activists, now these people know enough that they will not talk at all. Like last CPAC I went to, and I've been to every CPAC for like the last probably 5 years now. And for those of you who don't know, that's a conservative political action committee or conference. One of them. And that's where all the bigwigs, so to speak, of the Republican and conservative base go and meet for like 3 days, and they do a straw poll, and which means absolutely nothing. Ron Paul won it 2 years in a row, and they wouldn't give him the nomination. But the last CPAC really, because I realized that they have changed up. Like for every year I went there, the security got more and more. They actually changed venues. The one year we really, me, Luke Rudkowski, Danny Panzella, Julio Rosario, there was a bunch of us, and Gary Franchi, and we cleaned house, man. We that was I think that was the year Luke was confronted Dick Cheney. That's when I confronted Donald Rumsfeld. Asked him if he ever found that $2.3 trillion that he said was missing the day before 9/11, and he responded by saying billion. So he was off by a little bit there, but yeah, and he answered, oh yeah, it was just a counting error. I'm like, wow, you have a press conference, to talk about how there's 2.3 missing. So you got it on record the day before 9/11, and then you never have a press conference to say, oh yeah, we found that $2.3 trillion missing. Now, other than Cynthia McKinney, who was a congresswoman at the time years ago, no journalist, nobody had ever asked him about that money. The biggest accounting error in the history of this country. I asked him that question, and you could see he's surrounded by bodyguards of every shape and size. I mean, it's like they were straight out of Central Casting, and he answered that question, the best he can, I guess. It was always there. It was just an accounting error, and then where I positioned myself, I was like halfway down the line where he was coming down the line, shaking hands, and everybody was kissing ass and trying to get their pictures taken. And I had a camera here, and Danny Panzella was right here holding a camera on me. And so when he got to me, he had nowhere to go. He thought I was just going to shake his hand. And that's when I asked him. I said, hey, hey Donald, did you ever find that $2.3 trillion that you talked about the day before 9/11? Did you ever find it? And he answered the question, and you see it. He gets a 2-finger tap on his shoulder, and he's like, we gotta go. And they all surrounded him, and out, gone. So I was only halfway down the line. That was the last time Donald Rumsfeld ever talked to anybody that was outside a controlled environment. Last time. Every other time I was anywhere near him at any kind of event, I know at the you couldn't get near him. The following year, I know that CPAC, they said he was sick, okay, and they kept him off in this, like, you couldn't get within 100 yards of him, literally. Like, it was just he was sitting at like a table, and
Was he quarantined?
100 feet, not
Was
100
he-
yards. Sorry.
Was he quarantined inside of a Pope Mobile like container? Was he hermetically sealed?
That's not far off. But
He was in that chamber that I know where he was. He was in that chamber that Darth Vader was in the Death Star when it.
yeah. No, that's about right. And then the following year, what was it? They said, he's not going to be talking to anybody anymore. And these were the same exact people, so it must be like his detail. And they told me like straight up, he doesn't talk to anybody anymore. And I'm like, wow. And I was wondering if they like knew I was the same guy from a couple years before. I don't think they did. But, yeah, who am I kidding? They probably knew exactly. They're probably like,
You remember when we were at that? Listen, you remember when we were at that one event? It was the same one we were talking about before, the Biden event. When you dropped your cell phone, and the Secret Service called, and they're like, yeah, this is the Secret Service.
Oh.
And, we have Tony Antonello's.
Yeah!
cell
Oh
phone."
my god, I forgot about that.
That shit was crazy.
Yo, what happened again? I remember.
We split up. We split up because we were doing the Man on the Street interviews, and we split up. Two of us went one way, two of us went the other way, and I happened to be with Eric, and they called Eric's phone. How they knew? Like, listen, okay. Here's the thing.
I remember. Yeah, right.
All the contacts that you had
Yeah.
in your phone. What are the odds that they just randomly picked the first one,
I remember
and that's
that.
the person who you were there with?
Oh my god.
What are the chances of that?
Yeah, I forgot
So
about that.
they called Eric's phone
wow.
to say, "Hey, are you with Anthony Antonello?"
Yeah.
And you know,
Yeah,
he's
like-
yeah. He's like, yeah. Who is
How
this?
did they get
And they're
my
like,
phone?
This is the Secret Service,
Like-
and we have his
Like,
cell phone.
did they pick my pocket?
They said they found it on the ground.
I know they
yeah,
said.
exactly.
You know, like. Dude, is this like 3 years later? I'm having a revelation.
Yeah.
Like, wow, were they trying to intimidate me? Like, dude, we picked your pocket. We have your phone. We just called the dude you're with. You know, like lay off. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well,
they very well could have been.
But seriously, like out of all the contacts in your phone,
Right.
they
Like
called
thousands.
one person.
Right.
They called one person, and it happened to be a person that you were there with.
And we were
What are the odds of
we were only rolling like 4 or 5 deep that year.
Yeah,
there was
it
only a
like
couple.
lot of us
There was
there.
only a couple
I
of
think
us.
it was me, you, Eric, and Nick,
Yeah.
and that was it.
Wow. Oh man, that's crazy. Yeah, so that probably was their way of trying to intimidate me, and I think I talked about. I might have done a video on that. I totally forgot about it. You know, you see, it's a good thing. You need friends to help you, especially when you have a life like this, because it's so easy to forget things that happen. Wow, yeah. Wow, talk about a mind blower. I forgot about that. Yeah, this is a Secret Service.
Yeah, like what the hell?
Like, thanks. You know, like I'm sure it was a block number. Oh wait, no, they were calling from my phone,
They were
right?
calling
yeah,
from your phone,
they used
yeah.
my phone to call Eric to say,
Man,
yeah.
I had some great photos. I have to look and see if I still have them from that event. I took them on a camera that I don't have anymore. That camera died.
Yeah.
But I had photos of the federal building,
Right.
and on the top of the federal building they had the
Oh,
snipers
yeah,
positioned in
that's
the
right.
federal building, and in the picture, like I used like the whatever it is, the 30x digital zoom to zoom in on the sniper, and it was a picture of the sniper sniping. Like if you look at the angle that like he was looking at me when I was pointing the camera.
Oh,
It was
wow.
an awesome picture, man.
No kidding.
Yeah, I don't know if I saw it, but man, it was great.
Oh man, you definitely need to check into that and see if you do, because I like to see that. Did you see the Peter Curtis, the one journalist who got released? And I remember I put out in a video, okay, that I'm gonna be curious to see how long it is before, he gets in front of the camera for the world stage, okay, and so. It didn't take long. Okay, so not suspicious on that point right there. Okay, but did you hear what he said?
What do you mean?
And after he spoke, he gave he read from, okay, I won't read too much into that he read something, but he gave a short little press conference, and then they said how he needs to take time. And remember, I put this out last week. I said, I certainly don't want to hear he needs time for his friends and family, but that was saying that if he wasn't going to appear in front of a camera. But he did appear in front of a camera, okay, read a short speech, all right, and you could tell the way he walked down, they must have had the road blocked off, because he walked to, it had to have been like a press conference, and because the way these things work is reporters try to be the first one to get questions, and they would have hit him up with questions on the walk if it wasn't sealed off. But he gave a short little press conference, and he said something, and to me, it seemed a little bit of a weird statement, and I'm not going to quote exactly what he said, because I forget, exactly how he worded it, but he said something to the nature of, first he said, I'm glad I'm home, I didn't know how much support I was getting, how hard people were working to get me back home. And then he said this. He's like, I'm glad I'm home now here in America, and I realize he said something like, I realize how nice Americans can be, or like something to that nature. And I'm like, that seems kind of odd. Like you're kidnapped for a while by people over in the Middle East. You come back and you make a statement, something to the nature of, I forgot how nice Americans are, or how nice Americans can be, and I'm thinking, wow, he referred to them as Americans. And dude, I don't know. I just got a weird vibe on it, and I'm gonna look up to see if I can find the exact quote. But let's see. Other than that, what? Oh man, how much did we talk about? How about bullets and burgers?
That's insane. Like, first of all, who gives a 9-year-old kid an Uzi? You want your 9-year-old to learn how to shoot. You give them, a 22.
Yeah.
That's like you want them to shoot a real firearm. You give them a 22 caliber, little squirrel shooter rifle. You don't hand them a fully automatic Uzi.
Oh,
Here you go.
God.
Now make sure you squeeze off one round, and then I'll switch it into fully auto mode for you.
Yeah, and
That's crazy, dude. That guy was an idiot. I can't even believe that they would even refer to that guy as a firearms instructor. He was a moron.
Yeah. Well, I know everything's a conspiracy, but let's see. Burgers and bullets here, all right? Now, is this like a huge franchise? Because I've never heard of it. And...
Wait, it's really like is there really a restaurant? I thought you were kidding around. Is there really a restaurant called Burgers and Bullets?
That's where this happened.
Did you ever hear that?
Listen, when you came over and I started telling you, laughing, telling you how dude, here's the website. Look at the freaking website. Oh my God. Burgers and Bullets, Las Vegas. So it's okay, it doesn't look like it's a chain. Burgers and Bullets, Las Vegas. That's where it happened, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So the idea, right in ATV. So I guess if you're looking for a burger, and if you want a Uzi and ride an ATV, you go to this. Now, obviously, I have no problem with any of that. A ATF, All Tobacco and Firearms, should be a freaking convenience store, not a federal agency. Oh my God, look at it. They got pictures of Rambo popping up on the screen here, Terminator. So, it honestly, it's so ridiculous, all right? I mean, Burgers and Bullets, story comes out, a 9-year-old with an Uzi. Okay, I'm like, I'm sorry, but the first thing that came to my mind is that this was all created to make gun owners look ridiculous and make people who want guns, like another notch in the belt of, anti-gun, like for the anti-gun people, like burgers and bullets. How ridiculous is that? There should be an age limit on, 9-year-olds shouldn't be able to have Uzis. Now, okay, I know people are gonna be like, well, of course, a 9-year-old you shouldn't be giving Uzis to 9-year-olds.
Who does that? Who does that? What person in her right mind?
No,
Here you go. I know you're a newborn baby. Oh, what's the matter? Your teeth, son? Here, take this hand grenade. I don't know how this could have happened. I don't know how it could have happened.
The hand grenade goes off, kills the baby and the mother.
Yeah.
And you're surprised.
I'm surprised.
I don't know how the baby.
Why would you give a 9-year-old kid an Uzi in the first place?
Now, and I know people might be wondering how we're laughing our way through this. I think at this point it's gallows humor, because this, I don't even know how much of this I actually believe. Like, how much of this can possibly be real? I said burgers and bullets. You thought I was joking.
I thought you were joking. I didn't think
Okay?
it was a real place.
We have Douglas friggin' MacArthur McCain. Come on, man.
That's the last thing I thought. That was
Who is writing this stuff? Did they fire Brad Meltzer? And is this a new author?
Yeah.
That they have somebody new who's writing the plot?
It's why George Lucas sold the Star Wars franchise.
Yeah. Like, do they
He's
have?
not writing for the CIA.
Wow. Do they have somebody new writing these stories? It's
I'm telling you, dude. Tomorrow when you wake up in the morning, you're gonna turn the TV on, and it's gonna go dun dun dun.
Yeah.
Breaking news.
Yeah.
Breaking news. Someone was stabbed at the stab your own food shack.
Yeah.
Like, what kind of nonsense is this even?
Stab your own.
Any day now, I feel like I'm gonna walk into this it's like. This is crazy, man. Like, I feel like you're gonna be walking down the road, and like the police, everything is gonna be like, like the generic, like
you know what?
C movies.
Horseshoes.
You know what I mean? Like where you're walking down the street and it just says, restaurant with an arrow, and like.
Yeah.
It's
listen,
so ridiculous already.
What are you doing tomorrow night? Let's head down to the local Horseshoe and hand grenades. Oh my God!
Breathe.
I know. We're just having fun at this point.
It's so ridiculous.
So, Horseshoe and hand grenades. We're gonna go, throw our little horseshoes. Oh my God! Obviously, throw some hand grenades.
Yeah.
All right, we gotta pull ourselves together here, brother. Oh man. All right. Now, if anybody disagrees, please let us know. If you think we're off target here, please let us know. But maybe I wonder if Douglas MacArthur McCain endorses burgers and bullets.
Yeah. Yeah, how does Gian John feel about horseshoes and hand grenades?
Oh my God! So listen, when you have stories like this, do you really? Oh man, I dude, I'm almost speechless. Almost speechless. Oh, tell them what you heard when I was telling you about the story about the shooting. Where somebody from the cops crew got killed, what's it? The show Cops.
Yeah. Got
killed, and how they mistaken airsoft gun for a real gun. And now I know they do look like a real gun, but the police went as far as to say how it sounded like a real gun.
How does an airsoft gun sound like a real gun?
It doesn't ever.
There's no way.
right, and
Well, and that plays into all this other stuff. Did you see the gaffe that the Huffington Post had, where they had the image of a magazine, a rifle magazine, looked like it was maybe for like I would say most likely an AR, because that's what they like to parade around.
yeah.
And it had earplugs, like foam earplugs,
Right.
like jammed into the magazine, and they posted it and said that the Ferguson police were using rubber bullets. And
I think I heard that story.
they were obviously earplugs.
Yeah, right. And who posted that?
Huffington Post.
Wow. So they
got called out on it. So I mean, at this point,
They were way
at
off
this
the mark.
point, man. At this point, you know, I don't doubt anything at all. At this point, you know, I mean, you have guns. You have people getting shot for stuff like a water pistol, and it's green. You know, he had a super soaker. Little kids are getting smoked.
Yeah,
He had a
yeah.
Super soaker.
Yeah.
That looks nothing like a
Yeah,
gun.
yeah, right.
You know what I mean? Unless like somehow you like stepped into a time warp and it's
Yeah.
freaking Flash Gordon. Or
Right,
something.
you're in the fifth
Yeah.
element.
Yeah, the
the
I
fifth
just watched that
element.
movie.
Yeah.
It was just done.
So, wow, man, and
You know, it's like none of that shit surprises me anymore.
wow, look at the bullets. Look at how many rounds.
Oh yeah, they sprayed them.
What?
They sprayed 'em.
Wow. So, was it a shootout or they just lit him up?
I think they just lit him up.
Wow.
And that guy got in the crossfire. The cameraman got in the crossfire.
All right. So,
He was inadvertently struck
oh man.
by a round that was
How-
discharged. I like how they say that. Like it wasn't somebody who actually shot it. It was discharged.
Talk about irony. So you have the show Cops,
Yeah.
and you have somebody who works for so you have somebody who works for Cops, and they're like making the TV show, and they end up getting killed in the process of making this show. Now, the show itself is, I mean, I haven't seen it in years, but it glorifies cops, right? Like, oh,
Yeah.
you know, we're badass, and or you know, the cops are badasses, and they're getting all the scumbag criminals and blah blah blah. And I mean, if the guy was engaging in propaganda to begin with, in my opinion. The show Cops. I don't know. I won't get too deep into it because what was he? He's probably just a camera guy, but I don't know. That's why they.
I mean, it just all it
The
does
world
is it
is-
shows their recklessness.
Oh well, that's
really-
apparent.
the prime
Yeah,
thing
okay.
that's on
yeah.
display during this whole incident is that it's complete and total disregard for the safety of anyone around, and they just indiscriminately spray rounds everywhere that they possibly can with no concern or regard for anyone else who's around, even members of their own team. I mean, it's crazy.
It really
It's
is,
crazy.
and
And they
you know,
turn around and tell you that you're the dangerous.
right for and for the
You're the
fact
dangerous one.
that, like, listen, this you know, I know we were having some fun with these crazy stories, but I mean, this is some real bad times here, man. I mean, so we're gonna need to redo. Somebody's gonna need to redo that poll that says you're 8 times more likely to die by a cop than a terrorist. Because at this point, I think that friggin' number has gone way up, man. Because we've been saying that for about 2-3 years now. I forget when that poll was actually done.
Yeah, I mean, what was it in the last 3 weeks? There's been like what 4 or 5 different
even-
incidents. There was the kid that they shot down in North Carolina.
They'll shoot you quicker than talk to you, man.
Absolutely.
And like for no reason whatsoever.
It's like two a week, and that's just the ones that make national news.
So
that's just the ones that make national news. You're talking about
right.
You're talking about
You're
a
right,
country.
you're right.
You're talking about a country of 313.9 million people, and out of that there are 4 incidents a week, 3-4 incidents a week of police, smoking people for no reason or for not reason enough, I guess if you could say it that way. And that's just the ones that make national news. That's not all the ones that only get, to the local news level or to the state level, that you don't see on,
Right.
on
Yeah.
The big five. or
Right.
whatever.
These are the stories that are making national news, and so who knows how many? I mean, it happens here. Wilkes-Barre. I mean, we've never seen stuff like this when we were younger, but now there's shootings all the time. Okay, that's just shootings. Let's see. I know there was more. There's been. I'm having a hard time thinking now. I know there was a couple stories, but all right. Let me try to focus here. Yeah. So the whole point is that's national. These are the ones that are making national news, making it to at least the internet to where we see it now, and we're the ones that do this full time, like scanning the internet and trying to find these stories, and we can't even come close to keeping up with them. Like I'll do my best to try to find a couple of the big ones, but like I joked about it right before the show. I said I heard something, and I said cop shoots kid, and I'm like, yeah, that's really gonna narrow it down. It's like finding a needle in a haystack. Like I need to put not only the date, but like I need to put in other key words, and still hope to find it. You would think cop shoots kid, airsoft gun. You would think that would be a narrow enough,
like 1 or 2,
right? But no, you're talking pages. Like literal pages of stories. And I do know that a lot of those stories are from other news sources on the same story, but still there are a ton of stories. So think about this, all right? When I know everybody talks about the Nazis, okay, obviously because of how ruthless they were from that most of us has been taught. And at that point, we do have to question a lot, but I see pictures of people getting killed and video of people getting killed, so I do believe that Nazis were bad people. So what do you think the Germans felt at that time, when things were, and I do have a good idea because I had Betty, is it Betty? I think it's Betty Worthman, and she's a survivor of World War II, and she was 13 years old. I think she said in 37, so she was just old enough to like remember everything, and her mother took her out of school and put her in a private school, and she explained everything, how her mother told her mother was hip to what was going on, and she said, you'll understand someday, and she was explaining how she didn't want to leave the school because of her friends, but and she explained how when Hitler came to power, he was elected, which we all know, and she said there was some crime that was around, and Hitler said for the, now that we're moving forward, and I guess they were all demoralized after, a decade or two, kind of like America is now, they were demoralized, and, you got a charismatic leader saying we're going to move forward and make our nation great again, and I guess there was crime at the time still, so he said, in order to have, more safety, let's get all the guns registered, and she said, most people were good law-abiding citizens, and said, okay, sounds like a good idea, let's go register our guns. So once they got done having all their weapons registered, names and all that, getting their Stasi files all ready, she said it wasn't long after that where Hitler said, yeah, let's go a little bit further. Nobody's gonna have guns, only the police. And she did say it was around that time. And I was very curious. I gave her the whole show, and I asked questions, and it was a great show. And I might have to get her on again. I was, picking her brain as the best I could, because there's not many people that, number one, are still alive from World War II that have experienced it in such a way, and that are still mentally in a place where they could explain it so articulately. So I gave her the entire show. We might even went over that night, and she said, because I asked her, I'm like, what were people thinking? Were people like did they start to understand? Like, did they realize they were getting played? And she said, oh yeah. She said, around the time he called for the guns to get confiscated, people started to realize that they've been had. But they also realized that it was too little, too late, and they already had all the information. Now, I do believe that if people were organized before they turned in all the weapons and tried to fight back, I think we would have seen a whole different outcome. But the collectivized thinking led to that, and that's how it happened. Register, and that's why somebody like me is so, against these laws that say you need to register and have permits. And if you claim something to be a natural right, that I have a right to defend myself. That's it, period. I have a right to defend myself by any means necessary, and a weapon is one of them. Now, the government steps in and says, you need to have a permit, if you either conceal carry, today, if you open carry, somebody's going to call the cops immediately, depending on where you live. Here it's not too bad. I have friends and cousins that open carry a lot, and I fully support it. I wish everybody open carried, I know some people disagree with me with that. They say it's better to conceal. They're like, oh, you're showing your hand, and I'm thinking, but at least you're, you're showing your hand. What, you know what I mean? But either's fine. But I like the idea of open carrying, because let people see that. Like, you should be allowed to open carry and carry a friggin' weapon, man. Like, these are real bad, dangerous times. And the Detroit mayor, dropping because of how many people are open carrying. What was that, a week, like 2 weeks ago?
Yeah.
And so I fully support it. I wish everybody, guns for everybody and open carry. The laws are terrible. So back to what I was saying. What do you think? Like, she said that people in Germany started to get an idea that they've been had. They probably never imagined how bad it was gonna get. They probably like, all right, it's a dictatorship now at this point, but they probably didn't realize, like, holy shit, man, they're gonna be putting people in ghettos and straight up murdering people in the streets. That the SS had so much power, like, and you look at today, man.
Here's what I'll tell you about that whole analogy, is that they didn't have Dancing with the Stars. So they didn't have, reality TV. They didn't have all of these these mind-numbing distractions the way that we have today. These things that make people disconnected. I don't think that there's the same level, a comparative level of cognitive dissonance. Without a doubt. You can't compare then to now, because people have been so dumbed down cognitive dissonance is so spread. The disconnection between what is real and not real. That chasm is so wide that it's apples and oranges. You know?
Yeah,
I mean,
I totally.
My honest opinion is that when will Americans wake up is when they're in the train car on the way to the FEMA camp, or when they're in their front yard with the gun barrel pushed against.
I don't think
dude.
I don't even know that. I don't even think that will do it. I really don't. Look at that guy I interviewed in Scranton a couple years ago.
Well, that's the same event that we were talking about. The show.
Okay.
That's the same one. That's the guy that said, even if the president put me on the
right.
On
I
the
asked,
crazy.
and for those of you who don't know, I asked. I was doing interviews, and I asked this guy how he felt about if he knew what the NDAA was and indefinite detention and assassination of Americans, blah blah blah, and he agreed with it. And I said, "Do you agree? You know, why do you?" Long story short, go watch this video. It's. I think I titled it like the most disturbing video I've ever seen, something like that. But just keyword search Scranton and disturbing video, and I'm sure you'll find it. But this guy, and I asked him if it. I said, "Is it because you have that much faith in Obama, the Democrats, your government?" And he's like, "All the above." He actually said, and I made sure I made it clear because I couldn't believe his stance. It was so off the charts crazy. I asked him this question, he answered, and I saw him again a couple minutes later, and I'm like, sorry, can I have another minute or two, because I had to clarify it. It was so off the meter ridiculous. This guy said he they must know what they're doing. And I'm like, and I made it clear, I'm like, you're saying that you have no problem with the government killing American citizens without due process, no trial by jury, and he's like, well, if they're doing it, they must be doing it for a reason. I said, would you let them kill you? And he's like, yes. I'm like, so you would let the government kill you because you know that they know better? He said, I was speechless. I was speechless. So saying the government would know better, and he's saying they must know what they're doing, and at the same time saying he would let the government kill him. So the government knows what he does better. Maybe he felt he deserves to get killed. Like, I don't know, but he literally said, yeah, we'll let the government kill me if that's what they want to do. And yeah, the cognitive dissonance does run that deep. After decades of indoctrination, propaganda, brainwashing, chemically dumbing down, without the medication, public education. I mean, these are all reasons why Americans are the way they are. Like the world is on fire, almost literally. I mean, these are like end time scenario. That's how crazy this is. And what are Americans doing? They're dumping water on their heads. Like, really? So, and then people wonder why the rest of the world looks at this country now and we're anti-American for actually calling it like it is, for realizing that all how bad everything is, and you know what, that's the thing about being lied to by everybody is people like us, and I don't want to say this generation because most people are they have no idea, but people like us we're so disenfranchised. Like, we don't know. We're so disenfranchised. We really don't know. Like you said earlier, we have no idea where to even start. Like, as far as what's real and what's not. We could tell you what's not real. Well, actually, to a degree. But I mean, it's a tough tough spot we're in here, man. I mean, it's at the point where they have mind fucked this country into such a position to where it really is like the Matrix. Like, you don't know even what reality is. You know, like dream. We don't. I mean, we could be dreaming at this point for all we know. This is how crazy Douglas and burgers and bullets, and so you have to.
I'm dying from the burgers and bullets. I'm over here. I'm like, I'm absolutely dying. Every time you say burgers and bullets, I think of like the, what other kind of more ridiculous name could they have had for something like that to happen? Like the steak and get shot in the head.
Yeah. Horseshoes and
Like
hand grenades.
What in the world?
Come on, we're gonna go. Look for some fundraising, and we're gonna start some. We're gonna throw some horseshoes and hand grenades and ham sandwiches. Ham sandwiches and throw some hand grenades. Let's see. I see Tom in the chat room. Try telling the truth over here as far as where exactly is over here. And what do you mean as an immigrant? Let me know more specifically what you're talking about. Yeah, I get the cognitive dissonance. I don't think you're right. It's apples and oranges, and I know that it's almost the same analogy as conventional war. There's really no such thing as a conventional war because technology moves along, and once technology gets to a certain point, it changes the entire face of war. Okay, like the armored armored personnel carriers, tanks. Okay, World War I to World War II, gas and stuff like that. Like, it changed everything.
I always like when they use that
flying
the conventional warfare term, because
there's no such thing. I
mean, it makes me like reaching through the television and like shaking. I'm like, what do you want them to do? Do you want to line up in lines? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The Battle of Thermopylae.
Yeah, right.
Like face off.
Okay, and here, here's a great point. Okay, so you have the American Revolution, all right, and a lot of movies show and military in the world at that time. It was the British. It is ridiculous to try to fight a conventional war. Go muzzle to muzzle with redcoats at that time. That was ridiculous. Okay, that was around the time the rifle was invented. Okay, so America had that as an advantage. They were able to pick off officers, which was considered, terrorism at that time. They won't fight like men. Now think about that in today's terms. Okay, that the coward was a suicide bomber, or he did something cowardly. They won't stand up and fight like men. Well, if you can't fight, if all you can do is resist and do your best. See, that's what made America different. Was, and assuming the history we were taught is what it is, and I know history is always written by the winners. So here's what I'll say to that. Even if it's not, even if what we were told isn't true, okay, say we were lied to, it's still a hell of a story, and I like it. All right. So what I mean by that is, if a bunch of rebels did get together, farmers with pitchforks and using all kinds of secret spy rings and stuff, and they did what they had to do, and they were able to beat back the most powerful empire, you know, the world has ever known up to that point, then that's great. That's great. And they created themselves. They created themselves their own country. All right, America, and they had the idea of freedom. And after, you know, maybe a decade, things started to go downhill. That's when you had governments starting to be created and laws, and you know, you had to find a way to pay for soldiers, and got to put a tax on whiskey. You know, obviously there was the Whiskey Rebellion immediately, and
then you flash forward 230 some odd years, and we have, you know, MacArthur McCain, the ISIL terrorist. You know, I mean,
right, and so and you think about that, and you have to put history in the context with, you know, like, okay, superpowers, you know, one person's hero is another person's terrorist, and you know, you think about the bullet playground when there's nobody left to pick, you know, to pick on. At what point? Yeah, right. I mean, at what point do you say, wow, you know, are we really what we tell ourselves? You know, this power, this power of good in the world. You know, the America World Police, and we're gonna beat freedom into you. And you look at it. You look at this country. We don't even have our shit together here. Yeah, this country's gonna go waging war on every nation on the planet, just about. You know, like, it's incredible. And you know what? The cognitive dissonance is so bad, and this is where I get so. How frustrating is it for somebody like me to want freedom, to want to get rid of all these ridiculous rules, laws, regulations, stuff like that. You know, you need to jump through flaming hoops for guns and weapons and to carry weapons, but yet our tax dollars go to sending all kinds of weapons, tanks, airplanes to other countries that don't have those laws. You know, like it's. I mean, if that doesn't make, and it doesn't. I was gonna say, if that doesn't make Americans mad, but you know, I think Americans at this point will take pretty much anything. There is not, and this is how it works. Is they're able to wear you down, you know, like, and that's where the series of tipping points come in. When you have somebody like Obama come in, and they're able to play the race card, you know, 1,000 times, and they're able to, you know, executive order after executive order, and literally destroy the country, and you know, at light speed. And for the fact that let me see, for the fact that, you know, they have destroyed the country in such a short amount of time, while taking on this role of, you know, American police. I mean, I think a lot more people should be questioning things, but for the fact that they're not, and for the fact that we've gotten, you see, they really wore us down with, you know, 9/11. All right, once people got hip to that, I mean, obviously, the, like, 9/11 truth. Like, once people got hip to that, they really started speaking out and coming out of the woodworks, because you have to speak at that point. But not everybody is finding out at the same time. So, and this is a tactic. You know, this is how you wear people down. Is, you know, you do it to different sectors of society, and yeah, we have thousands and thousands of people out in the streets, okay? What if, but all at different times and for different things, what, you know, it would take all of these people to come together under common cause and do it all at the same time and say, listen, okay, we can worry about the small differences later, or even some of the bigger differences, but do we want freedom or not? And here's the problem, is by me just saying that, there are so many people that will start the argument right there. What's your definition of freedom? You know, and okay, what's your definition of freedom? And then if I make the point, I was talking about guns, I'll mention guns. All right, I should have the right to bear arms. Then somebody on the other end will say, well, I should have the right to feel safe. Okay, all right. You know, but that's their argument. Like, I should have the right to feel safe with not having to be around guns. All right, yeah, you should have that, but I mean, realistically, you know, that's, in my opinion, that's like saying I should have the right to live my life without worrying about ever getting a sprained ankle. You know, like, how are you supposed to prevent certain things unless, and especially once you read his you know, realize that more people are bad, but that's not war. That means the government makes laws and enforces them. More people have died in the last century. The number one killer of human beings last century was democide. That's government killing people. Okay, so the only thing that killed people more in the last century was dying of natural causes. After that, so that's why I said the number one killer outside of natural death is democide. Long track record of people killing people. So why people want more government, I mean, that's beyond me. And you make this argument, and here's the argument is, oh, well, where would we be without law? Okay? It'll be chaos. Where have we got with law? Is you want to rule by fear. And, I mean, now it's so bad that people are and rightfully so, afraid of the law. So it's not even so much the laws, it's that these are out there enforcing things that they know nothing about. You know, like they're not lawyers. They never went to law school. You know, they get pumped through an Act 120, and, you know, all of a sudden, and believe me, I've seen this with my own eyes. I know people that, I mean, you know, your typical, and, you know, the stereotype of, you know, cops are the ones that get a lot of them are the ones that got picked on in school, and they go to this Act 120, and they come out different person, you know, wearing their bulletproof vest all the time because they, you know, it makes them look a little bit bigger. And even John Stossel did a piece on that once about the power of police, and he put on a uniform and he went out on the streets, and he even talked about how he said just putting on the costume made him feel a little bit different. And he said he certainly could see how these cops get power hunger, or like power trip. He said everywhere he went, because he was like Chips, you know, he had the big glasses on, mirror glasses, and he's walking around and everybody's treating him different. You know, hey officer, they didn't know it was John Stossel, and you know, he talked about how different people treat you, and if you know you're the one walking around with a gun, and it's very unusual for most other people to walk around with a gun, and everybody's kissing your ass everywhere you go. You know, free burgers, free donuts and coffee. Oh, it's on us, officer. You know, what do you think that's going to do to somebody? You know, that's gonna change. That's gonna change them, and you know they have of course they have their thin blue line, their code of silence, where they're not gonna turn other people in. So I don't know. What do you think about that as far as like the cops and I mean, I don't know. The whole rant there is like, I understand both sides of the argument, but it's like people just both sides say, and both sides will say this: oh, they just don't understand. They just don't get it. Everybody thinks they know it all, and I don't claim to know it all. I know a lot. I study a lot. It's very good argument on a lot of this stuff. I just don't understand why people want more government, more like. Don't they realize that that's people you have to answer to for all whatever they say, all kinds of reasons. They extort you out of money. They rob you. Taxation is theft. You know, like they take your money. How is that free? And even if you make the case like, okay, we need to